Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 28th edition of the Williamson County School Board meeting. Thank you for being here this evening. I'd like to let the audience know that we are all using computers and technology tonight to go through our agenda, so we may have a few glitches as we go through. So appreciate your understanding in that. The first thing I'd like to do is have the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we could have our Deputy Ron Hooper come up and lead us in the pledge, and then if we remain standing for a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Centennial Vocal Octet Group for being here this evening entertaining us. And we have a Boy Scout Troop number 130 with us this evening. If they'd stand to be recognized. And thank you for being here this evening as well. The first order of business here is to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Oh, I'm sorry. Got to sign in first, don't we? Okay, my bad. All right, if you would, sign in that you are in attendance. And 11 are present. All right, next item is the approval of the agenda. I'd like to make a motion for that. All right, the approval. Second, with any changes or adjustments to the agenda? Mr. Hullett.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the policy 6.4031 head lice from the consent agenda to new business, please.
Okay, we'll move 6.4031 to new business 7H. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Any other adjustments, changes to the agenda as proposed? Okay, I see none. Then can we have a roll call or just a vote, regular voice vote? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next item on our agenda is going over is the consent agenda that we approved. I would like to read you what the board just approved. And that is approval of the February 15th, 2015 school board meeting minutes, approval of the February 27th special called school board meeting minutes, approval of board policy second reading on summer school and overtime pay, approval of recommendations for field trip fee requests, approval of the Carl Perkins grant number 2, approval of the Encore 2016 summer enrichment program. The next item is items of particular public interest, which is our public comments section. We have 3 people signed up to speak this evening. If you would please step forward when your name is called, give your address and what you're going to speak on, and we'll start out with 3 minutes and see how we go with that per person. First person to speak is Daniela Kuntz.
Good evening. I'm Daniela Kuntz and live at 132 Cavalry Drive, Franklin, Tennessee 37064. And I'm pointing to National Healthy Schools Day resolution. During the work session, dear Chairman, dear school board members, Superintendent Dr. Looney, during the work session of the Williamson County Board of Education, a resolution for the National Healthy Schools Day for the week of April 5th, 2016 in Williamson County Schools was introduced by Dr. Burgos and will be voted on at tonight's school board meeting. We parents are hoping that this resolution will pass. Thank you very much, Dr. Burgos, for introducing this resolution, and thank you to Superintendent Dr. Looney for promising to partner in this, and thank you to all school board members for the support in this too. The National Healthy Schools Day resolution and the yearly activities that go with it will help to keep raising awareness on the importance of healthy indoor air and a safer learning space for better learning and student health. It will also help teach school employees, school officials, teachers, and students to identify potential problems and eliminate those dangers to protect students in schools. Thank you also to Dr. Looney for his willingness to distribute the resources to our schools to partake in the suggested activities in the yearly events from now on. We are also thankful that the mandatory policies and safety guards for the protection of our children in Williamson County schools, which we drafted and sent to you in an email of February 16, 2016, see backside of this document, are being worked on soon. Our superintendent said during a meeting of February 17, 2016, that some things can be done, and we will meet in the middle. We parents are eager to know how that will translate, and we are happy to collaborate to help in this important process. We ask of your much needed support in this too, welfare of our students requiring it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Amy Ramke.
Good evening. I'm Amy Ramke, 1050 Neil Crest Circle, Spring Hill 37174. I'm speaking tonight on the National Healthy Schools Day, and I just want to thank Superintendent and the board members for your support of the National Healthy Schools Day. And I am a recent transplant from Florida, and my family chose Williamson County. I have a second grader and up-and-coming kindergartner for this fall, and we chose Williamson County because of its exemplary education. And I'm representing my family tonight in hopes that you all will adopt the mandatory requirements as Ms. Kuntz has outlined and has worked on for many years to have passed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Frank McNello.
Good evening. I'm also here to speak about the National Healthy Schools Day, and I appreciate everybody coming tonight to the meeting. I wanted to thank you guys for considering doing this at the schools. I just recently moved to Williamson County about a year ago, and I have a daughter who's 5 years old, and she'll be starting at Sunset Elementary in August, so we're very excited at her going to school. And she actually suffers from asthma, and that was one thing that I was concerned about, and I'm really happy to hear that you have been working on some policies to help for a healthier school for our kids and just really improve the air quality, and not only for the students but the teachers as well. So I think that it's something that people don't always realize, and I think that having a week to really recognize it helps just get the word out about how important it is for our schools and for our kids and our teachers to be there. And again, I thank you for considering this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That ends our public comments section. The next item on the agenda is communications to the board, the superintendent's report. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Welcome back from spring break, everybody. It's good to see everybody again. We had school again today, and things are back in session, going very well. I just wanted to update the board on a couple of issues. One, this Thursday at Franklin High School, as you know, we are in partnership with Service King, and we will be hosting an open house at Franklin High School at 11 o'clock. Service King is actually flying in their CEO for that day, so it's going to be a really great day, and people are going to learn about the partnership that we have established with, I think it's the first in the country, actually, with Service King. So that's an exciting project. So Thursday at Franklin High School at 11 o'clock, you're welcome to attend. You will be getting some communication about upcoming graduations and lots of end-of-year activities within the next couple of days. Please just try to look at your calendars and begin plotting out which of those events you're going to be able to go to, because it's going to fill up very, very quickly. We have completed, as you know, the most recent round of assessment, but that was only part 1. We have part 2 that's still ahead of us. Part 2 will be in paper pencil form, just in the same way that part 1 was. And then finally, I have asked to add an agenda item, and I just wanted to call your attention to it tonight. I have written Commissioner McQueen asking her for permission to repurpose some of our unutilized inclement weather days. And I have received authorization, and of course that's pending your approval. So if you should see fit, I'm going to propose that we adjust the end of the school year calendar for students only, making it from May the 20th to May the 18th, the last day of school. And our staff members and teachers will have time to complete end-of-year processes and complete some important professional development. With that being said, I'd like to call Mrs. Carol Birdsong forward, who is always immaculately dressed, and she has some awards for us tonight.
Okay, we are going to get lots of students to celebrate this evening, and we are going to start with a perfect ACT score. This is Ray Jason Ghani from Ravenwood. My mic is not on? Do I push the button?
You know how to work it. I got you.
You got me now? Oh, okay. Should I start over? Okay, well, anyway. But Tim, I can't see the screen, so if you'll just help me, okay, when
Look to your right.
we can do it.
Look to your right.
That's complicated. Okay, I'm not that skilled. Okay, let's see. I'm going back to our perfect ACT score. This is Ray Jason Ghani from Ravenwood High School. Ray is an 11th grade student at Ravenwood, and she took the test in February, so congratulations to her with her perfect ACT. And then we did not have Josh Parker's information last month. He is a Ravenwood student as well and is a National Merit Scholarship finalist. And so that does bring our total to 28 National Merit finalists. Now we're going to talk about the Tennessee High School Press Association Awards, and we always do pretty well, if I do say so, at those awards. And Brentwood High School came out shining as they typically do. They won for the best sports coverage of a live event, BHS TV. They also won for best commercial. This is Jack Burnett, Reed Smith, and Ryan Tyler. They also won for best music video. Jake Fisher, Ben Sherrill, and Ryan Tyler. And they also won for best audio for a video project. This is Ben Sherrill and Caleb Howard. Their teacher is Ronnie Adcock. But Franklin High School also brought home some awards. This is Peter Newsom, and Peter won for Best Short Feature, and Peter also won for Best News Sports Package. And then Best Video won by Franklin High School and Tyler Parrish, Sydney Hampton, Christian Whittemore, Andrew Kachamba, who is actually one of our interns who usually works your meetings, Niall Retta, McKenna Martin, Connor Wood, Shell Warren, Hope Dyra, and Caitlin McFadden. Their teacher is Carrie Thompson. At Independence High School, this is Zach Fulkerson, and Zach won for Best Videographer. When we're talking about yearbook awards, this is Cameron Ziesig from Brentwood High School. She won for Best Black and White Photograph in Yearbook. Her teacher is Catherine Ermy. And Centennial High School won for Best Overall Website under the direction of Don Merrick. We have several state winners in Tennessee DECA, the Tennessee State DECA competition in Business Law and Ethics, Team Decision Making, Timmy Derryberry and Ben Kazmarowicz from Brentwood High School. Also in Financial Management, Team Decision Making, John Harden and Emma Andrew from Brentwood High School. Also from Brentwood High School, in Sports Entertainment Marketing Promotional Plan, this is Ashley Anderson. In Fashion Merchandising Promotional Plan, this is Catherine Mills and Kathleen Grooms. Also from Brentwood High School, Role Play #1, Apparel and Accessories. This is Anna Mullaney. And Brentwood High School's Emma Fridge in Role Play 2, Marketing. Management. Their teachers are Lisa Neese and Melissa Basher. Page High School also brought home a DECA State Award in Restaurant Management. This is Chloe Pig. And also from Page High School, this is Sam Kraft, who won in Principles of Marketing Job Interview. Jackie Stevens is their teacher. And from Summit High School, this is Michael Cruson, who won for Professional Selling. His teacher is Allison Gaddis. In athletics, this is Jayla Grimes from Summit High School, who she won the TSSAA Tennessee Wrestling Championship in the 148 weight class. Her coach is Pete Miller. And at Fairview Middle School, for the second year in a row, these are your Sharknadoes. They won the Tennessee Special Olympics State Basketball Championship. Team members are Shay Arney, Anastasia Beerley, Peyton Evans, Parker Jaco, Braden Jenkins, Dylan Jules, Aiden Lane, John Mann, Anna Matlock, and Logan Parsons. Their coaches are Jamie Lane and Coach George Potter. And the youngest of all tonight from Westwood Elementary School. This is Dylan Hudson, and he is your American Automobile Association Tennessee School Patroller of the Year. For 2015-2016, Lee Ann Bauer oversees the school patrol at Westwood Elementary School. Congratulations to all of our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Birdsong. Board members, there are two other things that I just want to give you some information about. First, I'd just like to confirm that the shooting today in Washington, D.C. was in fact a former employee of ours, and so we probably will be receiving some press from that. And then secondly, this year again, we will be honoring those young men and women who are joining the military right after high school. And so as you get the calendar of events, that's a very special time for us and for the boys and the young men and women that are joining the military right after high school. So please, if you can, come to that meeting. Your attendance would be greatly appreciated. Mr. Chairman, board members, that completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. The next item is the board chairman's report, and I was just handed some information that Ravenwood High School recently performed as a featured ensemble at the 2016 Music for All National Festival in Indianapolis. Ensembles that perform at the festival are recognized as being among the finest in the nation. Participation is a credential worth having. The festival provides a place for growth, cooperative encouragement, and mutual respect among music programs, students, parents, boosters, and administrators. On that Saturday, Ravenwood combined with Carmel High School to form the first ever United Sound Honors Ensemble, a program that provides musical performance experience for students with special needs to perform for nearly 3,000 people. So congratulations to Mark Kinzer and his students for representing our district on the national stage, and you can check out the March 18th edition of In Focus for more. Carol Birdsong gave me that note just in case you needed to know the In Focus part. So congratulations to Ravenwood for a wonderful performance, and we're glad that they were able to make the national stage like that. I wanted to also bring to your attention that this coming Wednesday at Page High, we're going to have a Page community meeting at 6 o'clock to talk about the area and the growth in that area. And on April 4th is the Board Policy Committee meeting. And on April 9th is our Fine Arts Festival at the Factory. If any of you have a chance, there's stuff going on all day long. Please try to get the opportunity to go there and watch our students perform from many different schools and many different types of performances. On April 11th, the County Commission Joint Education and Budget Committee meeting will meet. And then another big event for our school district is on April 19th. It's Shining Apple Awards. These have progressed for years now, and it's gotten better and better. People who actually help and participate and volunteer in our schools from the community, and those are our Shining Apple Awards, and that again is on April 19th. And then on May 2nd, we will be having a school board retreat, and we'll send out more information about that as we get closer to the date. So that's the end of my report. Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. The next item we have is new business, 7A, suspension of board policies related to state testing and final examinations. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. As we discussed in the work session, because the test results will not be back in time for them to be included as policy dictates, we will need to suspend these 3 policies in order to comply with board policy for the end of the year. I would say that this is a one-time suspension of policy from my perspective, and so I would appreciate your consideration and approval tonight.
Okay, do we have a motion for this? Motion for Ms. Emerson? Second from Mr. Cash. Any discussion on this motion brought forth for us to consider by Dr. Looney? Okay, I see none. If we're ready to vote, you go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is 7B, Open Zone Schools for 2016-2017. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. We had a considerable amount of discussion about this topic. Since our discussion, though, I have added and request that you approve Hillsborough Elementary School only to be added to the list of open zone schools for up to 25 students.
Anyone like to make a motion on this? We have a motion to approve, Mr. Wimberly, second by Ms. Emerson. Any discussion? I see Mr. Gregory. Get the right.
Thank you, Gary. Mike, I'm just curious, I meant to ask this earlier. Why Centennial High is open? Is that from a previous promise that you made to the community, or because they've got a lot of kids over there?
Yes, sir. When we rezoned West Haven, we agreed for as long as possible for Centennial to be open zone.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, I see none. If you're ready to cast your votes, please do so at this time.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
The next item is new business, item 7C, 2016-2017 school board budget. Mr. Golden, did you want to say something at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have mentioned to some of you board members that in consultation with the county attorney's office and with Williamson County, there's a proposed conflict statement for each of you to read, and we're asking that you sign it. And I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then ask if you would in unison read that, and then print your name and sign it before you leave. It's actually not up on the board, so I'll go ahead and read it out loud. Because I receive compensation from Williamson County Schools, I have an indirect conflict of interest in the proposed budget about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens which this body represents. And so the driving issue for the county, and the commissioners vote on a similar, actually to make this statement similar when they vote on the budget, because you all do receive that small amount of money as compensation for your board work and health insurance benefits. They've determined that you each have an obligation to issue this disclosure prior to voting on the budget itself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Golden. Does anyone have any questions before we say this in unison? If you all agree to doing that, does anyone have any questions for him about this? Okay, then let's go ahead. We ready to recite this? All right, everybody. Because I receive compensation from Williamson County Schools, I have an indirect conflict of interest in the proposed budget about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens which this body represents. And what is there at the bottom for us is for the board members to print their name and then sign their name and then date. And Mr. Golden, do you want us to do them now and then pass them over so we have them on record?
Yes, please. That'd be great if you would.
Okay, if you would board members, go ahead and execute that document that we just read and pass them over this way. All right, so we're ready to move forward on the budget. We're looking at general purpose school budget. Dr. Looney, would you like to lead us through this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the staff for working really hard to craft a budget that's lean, but allows us to accomplish our mission to the best of our ability. I'd also like to commend this school board for spending a considerable amount of time debating their various aspects of the budget and for challenging the administration to come up with creative ways to solve problems. This is not a perfect budget, but it is a budget that I think will allow us to continue to offer exemplary services to boys and girls. Our biggest challenge moving forward is the almost unmanageable growth that we're going to experience in the next 15 years. And I was overjoyed by this board's commitment and willingness to meet with our funding body, the County Commission, to talk about how we resolve some of these challenges moving forward as it relates to growth. This budget doesn't specifically address that. This is a budget that allows us to have school next year. So I want to readily admit that we still have a lot of work to do to think about how we're going to plan for growth. With that being said, I'm proposing a general purpose school fund budget of $316,533,265. It's important for you to know that this does not include an employee pay raise. We're still waiting for the county's guidance on the pay raise. Although the governor has announced a pay raise for certified employees, we do not know what will happen with the classified employees, and we want to bring that to you in one budget amendment package. So we will propose a budget amendment that deals specifically with pay raises at such time we have additional information. Mrs. Holman can answer additional questions about us funding the budget through the revenues that we have. But as you know, this is an expenditure side budget that deals with what it takes for us to keep our doors open. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions for Dr. Looney or Ms. Holman? Then if someone will make a motion to get this on the floor. We have a motion from Mr. Hullett. Second by Mr. Peterson. All right, any further discussion or comments or questions? Mr. Galbraith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had considerable discussion around the proposed changes that I was prepared to make at our work session, and I'm not going to be presenting those tonight. However, I did want to go on record to say that this budget, indeed, I commend the staff for making the best of what you have, but we continue in a time where we've seen continued growth as a county, which is expensive, as Commissioner Kestner has pointed out, at the strain that puts on the county budget and the school budget. And we basically been putting Band-Aids on for the last 5 years, only to now be building our 3 schools, which are the first 3 that we built since we did the rezoning 6 years ago. And now, as we're adding 1,800 plus children, students this upcoming year is the projection. We overshot our projection for this year. I don't have a good feeling that we have a plan to properly fund our facilities. I just don't feel like we have created a plan to show the commission what fully needs to be done, and I think that's our responsibility. I think we've neglected to do that, but nor have I seen we've not been given anything to give us a good comfort level that we're able to fund the significant needs that we have going forward. I mean, if we're looking at doubling the student population potentially over the next 15 years, that that involves building a significant number of classrooms, and that requires a lot of capital. It also requires a lot of operating expenses, as Mr. Anderson has pointed out from his experience in running the school system as well. But what I guess what we're left with, what we're doing by presenting this budget is we're confirming the status quo, and I don't think the status quo is getting us where we need to be. So I guess the only thing that I ask is that as we go through our planning in May and then through the fall, that we make significant progress in coming up with a new way of doing business. And I agree with Bobby that we have to start now for next budget season. I personally feel that that's 1 year too late. I think that's what's gotten us here, is that we always plan on what's directly in front of us instead of thinking years down the road. But you know, I'm gonna completely support this budget. I just don't. I think I'm disappointed that we couldn't do more making that progress this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Ms. Emerson.
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly commend you for noting all of these things and bringing them to the surface and giving us an opportunity to discuss them and really plant some seeds. I think you make some very valid points, and I think you're absolutely right that we've got a lot of things that we need to reconsider and look at, and I think that you have given us a lot to chew on and a lot of positive things to think about. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for that.
Any further comments or discussion? Okay, if we're ready to vote, if you go ahead then and record your votes for the general purpose school fund budget.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes, and we're ready then to move on to the central cafeteria budget. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the proposed cafeteria budget is $12,307,580. This does include a 25-cent price increase to breakfast and lunch meals in the elementary level, and to breakfast at the high school level. I do recommend your approval. This does not require a tax. This is not supported by taxpayer dollars. It's supported by families that use that service.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion for this?
Move to approve.
Motion for approval from Mr. Wimberly, second by Ms. Emerson. Okay, and we have discussions. Mr. Peterson.
Dr. Looney, if you would just let us, the public know, when was the last time an increase was made as far as the quarter? I know this has been several years.
Yes, sir. It actually precedes me, but Jason, you might be able to answer that question.
And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'd actually had an email at the work session that I had that date. I was trying to pull that up. If I recall correctly, and it's just based on my immediate recollection, I think it was 07.
Yeah.
In that range.
I know it's been at least 6, 7 years.
I got here in 2009, and it hasn't increased since then.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Wimberly.
Perhaps it's my bad hearing, but Dr. Looney, I think you said a 25% increase.
I meant if I did say that, it's 25 cents. 25 pennies, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I see none. If we're ready to go ahead and record our vote on the central cafeteria fund budget.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is the extended school program budget. Dr. Looney.
The third budget for your consideration is for our SAC program, or the extended school program. It too is a self-sustaining fund using no taxpayer dollars. The proposed budget is $4,973,267. I do recommend your approval.
Anyone like motion for approval from Dr. Burgos? Okay, thank you. Anyone second that? Second by Mr. Cash. Any comments, questions? Mr. Galbraith.
Dr. Ling, just to confirm and for the public's consumption, so just explain how this relates to the closure of the YMCA and the addition of the 3 or 4 new sites.
Yes, sir. And well, first of all, this is a self-sustaining fund, but it is true that Funco, which was operated by the YMCA, is no longer interested in providing after-school program or before-school programming. So we will be expanding our SAC programs to the locations that were Funco sites. So we do not anticipate a reduction in services to any of our families. Funco did a really good job. We actually think that our programming might offer a few more opportunities for kids as far as programming-wise. So we actually think it will increase the level of services and perhaps participation. But once again, the rates aren't going up, and so from the family's perspective, I think they'll just see continued good services.
And when will we be coming forth with a budget resolution, an amendment?
We'll probably wait until after this passes, because she hasn't gotten the numbers ready.
So some in July or August. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I see none. If you're ready to go ahead and vote then on our extended school program budget.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is the capital outlay request. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We've had a considerable amount of discussion about how we fund capital, which seems to be the albatross around our school district's neck right now because of the growth that we've experienced and that we will continue to experience moving forward. We typically put together a budget proposal relating to capital, and it gets cut in about half. I'm not sure that it's going to happen again this year, but I will say the capital requests that we've submitted to you are things that we really need in the district to try to maintain the facilities that we have. I recommend your approval.
Anyone like to make a motion for this? Motion by Mr. Hullett. Like to second it? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion on the capital outlay fund budget? Okay, Mr. Meser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make sure, even though this is laid out in general and rural, so that if the county commission so chooses, they can go into debt to pay for these. I still hope and that our county commissioners are wise about the money and that they would do the right thing and pay as they go. We've laid this out for their benefit and for their knowledge and understanding of where the money is going. And I am going to vote to approve this, but I do hope that they will not go into debt for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussions, comments? Okay, I see none. Then if you'd record your votes for the capital outlay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leslie.
I just wanted to make note, last year the county commission did want us to fund $1.5 million worth of capital with our budget. And we did that through a resolution in July. However, this current GP budget, general purpose budget, does have $1.5 million representing 2 cents of the tax rate approximately in for capital items, because we sort of followed their request last year to put 2 cents worth in. So we did that this year also, and we did it through technology.
Thank you. Go ahead and continue to record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Dr. Looney and your staff for putting together this budget for us to work through. Appreciate it. Our next item is under new business, D, resolution by the Williamson County Board of Education. Dr. Looney?
Mr. Chairman, I do recommend that the board approve this resolution.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion to that effect? We have a motion for approval, Mr. Wimberly, second by Ms. Emerson. Mr. Gregory?
I believe this resolution is a little more than election year pandering. I don't think it'll affect change in any way in the district. However, in an effort to promote harmony among the board, I will not object to it.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I see none, and if you would go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is resolution by the Williamson County Board of Education commemorating National Healthy Schools Day. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I do recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this? Dr. Burgos? Second by Ms. Emerson. Any comments, questions, discussions? Ms. McGraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank Mrs. Kuntz for all the work she and her fellow parents have done and brought awareness to this issue. I just know we all appreciate it, and thank you to Dr. Burgos for putting the resolution forward on her behalf. It definitely has heightened my personal awareness of it. As a parent with a child with asthma, it literally never occurred to me, so I just really wanted to publicly thank you for all the hours and continued hard work you do on its behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson.
I also want to thank you, Ms. Kuntz, for your dedication and persistence in bringing this to the attention of the Williamson County School Board. You've been at this for a long, long time, and you've gotten so much better at drawing our attention to it and also awakening the public's awareness of what we need to be doing anyway. So thank you so very much.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions, or Mr. Wimberly?
And I'd like to also add that not only has she been successful in getting the attention of our board, she's also been quite successful in getting the attention of the state legislature and getting a resolution passed there too. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Any other discussion? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then on this resolution.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, board. The next item is 7F, 2015-16 school calendar revision. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'd like to spend a moment just explaining my proposal to you and the impact it will have on our students, their families, and our educators. Several years now, we have not used all of our inclement weather days, and the reality of it is what we do is we go to school extra minutes every day to allow for us to have inclement weather days. And so that's technically time that we've already given to the calendar, but when we don't use all of our inclement weather days, they just disappear. And so a couple of years ago, I had the idea of requesting from the Commissioner of Ed under the High Performing School District Flexibility Act approval to recoup some of those days for staff development. The one thing that's constant in our school district is there's never enough time to get the work done, training our employees, end-of-year processes, etc. And so this would be the third year that I have made this request. The Commissioner did approve my request of her to authorize us to move the last instructional day from May the 20th to May the 18th. A couple of things about that. May the 20th is currently scheduled to be a half day, which really means not hardly anybody comes on a half day, the last day of school. So we would like to end the student calendar on Wednesday with a full day. That would give teachers Thursday and Friday to finish their end-of-the-year processes. Under the current calendar, they have to return on Monday. And so we would like for them to finish on Friday. It would include some additional professional development requirements, but the most important thing is it gives them time as professional colleagues to reflect on the school year, to finish all the processes that they're required to do before they leave for summer. In addition to that, honestly, it will save the school district money. We won't be running 200+ buses twice a day for 2 days. We'll end it. We'll save a little bit of utility costs. We'll save the cost of serving breakfast and lunch, and that sort of thing. I do want to know that the last thing that I want to do is inconvenience families. And so I have worked with our senior staff to ensure that SAC will be open for families on those days. So if there's a hardship that's created from us dismissing school early, then SAC will be an option. I think this is good for the young boys and girls that we serve. It's a reward for them. I think it's good for teachers in that it gives them some much needed time to finish the end of year processes and to reflect, as I said. And I just think generally it's a good use of our unutilized inclement weather days. So I encourage your approval. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I will add, after I emailed you, as I said, I had Denise and Charles contact the building level administrators to determine what their reaction would be. And with the exception of 2, everybody was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but very positive. The 2 that didn't say they were positive, they weren't negative, they just were, I can make it work if you want us to, but I'd rather not. So, that's where we are. I do recommend your approval.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Move from Mr. Hullett, second by Ms. Emerson. Any discussion or questions on this, Mr. Galbraith?
Dr. Looney, thank you for this. I guess I've got a question and then possibly an amendment or at least a request. So I guess I see that we're basically getting out a week and a half before Memorial Day, and we're going to school the first week of August every year, and then we're getting out a couple of days early. I just from what I'm hearing, people don't mind going to Memorial Day. What they do mind is both going early, the first Friday of August essentially, and then not getting a fall break. And so I just as we think through the calendar for this upcoming year, I just asked the calendar committee to look at that. So, Charles.
Okay.
I just want to remind you that
you're on.
That this is an anomaly. Every 7 years we have this gap in time, which is why a lot of our high schools are stuck doing their graduations on campus. And so with the cycle of a week's time, that's why there's this gap this year. And so this is kind of out of the ordinary for us.
Well, I guess, but next year we're going. Well, I don't want to rehash that calendar discussion. I just want to look at it. I'd rather just think through it as what hasn't changed over the last 3 years is we're taking off a couple of days early because we're not using all of our inclement weather days. And I understand we want to get as much as I mean, it's all about testing. I mean, because everything's all about testing. It's to get as many instructional days before testing, and then once the testing is done, we don't mind cutting the calendar short. But I don't think that's right. But
Mr. Galbraith, we'll be glad to take a look at that and see if we can come up with creative solutions.
Appreciate it. Now, a more constructive request would be that we consider paying the bus drivers for those 2 days, even though we're not going to be running the buses. It's in the budget, and I don't think it's right to short them just because we're taking off. And so.
Well, and thank you for making that point. I should have noted I was intending on all employees working those days, including bus drivers. So this would be a regular work day for all of our employees. But thank you for that, and I know they appreciate that as well.
Mr. Hullett.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Over the years past, I've gotten emails, and I'm sure some of you all have as well, and I've started getting them with the mention of this as well. And one of the questions that comes up is, well, can't we have less inclement weather days? But the one thing for everyone who's listening to consider is that the moment we cut the inclement weather days will be the year that we have like the snowstorm of all snowstorms, and then we have to cut spring break short, and the world will end. and literally. So I would think that one of the things that we might do, we have a big survey coming up where we're looking at school start times, we're looking at fall break and Thanksgiving break and those types of things. Possibly we could add this into the survey as well to look at.
Yes, sir. We'd be glad to. And you're right. It's extremely hard to predict what Mother Nature is going to do. We tend to use our snow days or our inclement weather days very conservatively. The last couple of years, we've had little snow that's caused school to cancel, but those things come in cycles too. But we're glad to look at it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I see none. If you're ready to record your votes then, if you would please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is 7G, authorization to mediate threatened lawsuit. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that you approve this authorization to mediate threatened lawsuit.
Motion for approval from Mr. Wimberly, second by Mr. Gregory. Okay, I see no discussion. We'll go ahead and record our votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is 7H, and for board members, if you refreshed your computer, it will now show up at the bottom of your agenda as 7H. Rebecca was able to make that change after that motion was made, so it's there. Just hit your refresh button on your computer and it is there. So it is now 7H, approval of board policy, second reading, 6.4031 on head lice. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of this policy change as submitted and as suggested by the CDC.
Thank you. Anyone like to make a motion? Motion for approval from Mr. Mesra and second by Ms. McGraw. Any discussion? Mr. Hullett.
Yes, thanks. First, I want to thank Ms. McGraw for bringing this up because the policy did need to be updated. My issue over the last 2 months, policy has to go through 2 readings and it comes forward. In between the first time when we looked at this and now, there's also been another issue that has come up. My issue with the policy being revised is in line 25 and 26 where it says number 3, a student found with head lice or nits shall immediately be separated from the rest of the students and sent home with a parent. And we're taking that out. In the last 2 months while we've been looking at this policy, I invite everybody that's listening or watching to open up a browser, go to Google, and type in the 2 words super lice. The first 9 links that you see on the very first page, all of them, click on any of them or click on all of them and you can learn a little bit more about this, but Tennessee is one of the states that has been identified to have super lice. So for me, I realize the vote may go 11 or 10 to 1 and that's fine, but for me, I can't in good conscience send a student who is affected into a room full of children who are not affected with the possibility of those other children then becoming affected. I'm not saying infected, I'm saying affected. So I'm going to have to vote against this.
Thank you, Mr. Hullett. Ms. McGraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually going to defer to Dr. Burgos because I have a feeling I'm going to say something similar, and mine is from Dr. Google, and hers won't be. So I will pass the baton to her. So thank you.
Okay, from Dr. Google to Dr. Burgos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my first bit of advice, with complete respect, is there's a lot on Google that you cannot believe in respect to medicine. I have this discussion daily with my patients, and super lice is another term for resistant strains of head lice, which have been around a while, and Tennessee is one of those states, but that does not change our CDC recommendation, simply because it does not mean that these lice can do super things. They can't super jump to another head, or they can't spread faster, they can't do things that would make us more afraid as a parent that it would harm a child. The fact of the matter is we have really smart teachers and wonderful school nurses. We have more school nurses than most schools. in the sense of our district pays special attention to the health of our kids. And as soon as any sort of infestation is recognized, the parent's called, and the child is removed very quickly and isolated by the teachers without causing any sort of harm to the child or shame. So I'm in full support of this verbiage and would not want to induce any fear. Would not recommend that you go to Google and look up super lice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussions, comments on this one? Okay, I see none. If you'd go ahead and record your votes then on this policy for second reading.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
Okay, motion passes. Board members, we have successfully made it through our first meeting with electronic media helping us through. Congratulations. Audience, thank you for your patience, and this meeting is adjourned.